Lead scoring. Thank you so much all for joining this event. I'm told there was like over 900 registrations, which is absolutely wild. I was just looking at the number increasing as the event started. So yeah, absolutely incredible. I'm going to introduce myself. So my name is Dom. I'm a senior product manager here at HubSpot. I've been in HubSpot for over 6 years now. Let me just do a slideshow mode. Over 6 years now, working on different products, forms, CTAs, and now lead scoring. I'm based in Dublin, Ireland, where I live with my fiance and 2 daughters. My older daughter is 9, coming on 13 by the amount of eye rolls, that she gives me every day. My younger daughter is 4. And yeah, fun facts about me: when I'm not working and not spending time with my family, I like to do collage, which is basically I cut out like things out of like old magazines, like maybe a National Geographic from the 70s. I stick them together and make art. And I even got an award this year, to my mom's great surprise. She's like, "You got an award in art? You couldn't even draw a house when you were a kid." So yeah, that's me. So super excited to be here. This is my first time presenting at this event. So yeah, really excited. We also have Andres in the room. He's a product lead on the list side. So his team and my team, we're building scoring together. So he'll be here to kind of jump in with any kind of additional things there might be worth adding, plus helping out with questions. We're expecting tons of questions. So thanks, Andres, for being here. And yeah, let's move on to the agenda. So in terms of the agenda, I was thinking, going through why scoring is important now. Obviously, we're all here, so probably I'll be like preaching to the choir a little bit, talking about like why lead scoring is important, but let's just recap things about lead scoring. Then I'll be going into how the new scoring is different to the old scoring. This is something product managers love doing, the before and after, and how much better the new thing is. Then we'll do a quick demo. I'll be like super excited to kind of like dive in and show you how I'm building an actual score on the screen. And then quick looking ahead section of like things that you might not be seeing in the demo, because it's just literally like just fresh off the press. We opened it to private beta yesterday, so things might not work. I'm just saying, there might be some errors appearing here and there, but we're working on it. But the looking ahead is like the next couple of months, what we're planning. If you're seeing something that you feel, if you're not seeing something you feel should be there in the looking ahead, please comment. And we're definitely like taking in feedback right now. So if you feel strongly about something being added, let us know, and then we'll do a quick, not very quick, a long Q&A. So let's dive in to lead scoring. So, I think a testament to like why it is lead scoring more important than ever today is like the amount of participants. I think, what we're hearing from companies is that like increasingly companies struggle to convert visitors to leads into customers. Like on the marketing side, saturated channels. We have like GDPR, meaning people are much more reluctant to part with their private data. We have tighter budgets on the sales side, longer sales cycles, more decision makers in those sales calls, and it all basically contributes to declining conversion rates, lead quality, and like prolonged sales cycles. So that all means that it's absolutely critical for companies right now to be able to use the power of their CRM to identify the right leads, prioritize them, and basically, see the wood for the trees. Basically being able to find the leads that are ready, that are a good fit, and be able to kind of maximize their sales team's time and their marketing team's time. So in terms of, the qualification without lead scoring can go something like this, and it's something actually we've heard from customers. Okay, I get 100 leads a week. I kind of eyeball them briefly. Okay, they look good. A couple of like Gmail email addresses, I take them out. Then I pass them on to sales. And then sales start calling these people. And then first lead, is nowhere near ready. They've engaged with some content, but they're nowhere near making a decision, and they aren't ready for a sales call. Lead number 2 might be quite engaged, but could be like a completely wrong fit. They could be in a region that you don't, operate in. And then it doesn't get until lead number 3 or 4 that, there's some like promise in terms of, how ready or how good of a fit they are. Now, with lead scoring, it's a completely different story, because lead scoring gives you these different lenses that you can look at your leads with. And suddenly it's not just a bunch of leads. There's like leads that you can see are really engaged, really good fit. They're hot leads. You pass them on to sales, and they can prioritize the leads that are hot right now, and they don't waste time on people that are completely not suitable at the moment for a sales call. And then similarly, with marketing campaigns, again, these leads have been passed on to sales, and these leads may be dormant, or maybe the wrong fit, or maybe a competitor or something like that. And suddenly you can see which leads are worth pursuing with a marketing campaign. They're nearly there, but not there. And you might want to push them a little bit closer to making a decision with like this latest marketing campaign. So in short, lead scoring is really, really helpful with kind of optimizing your marketing processes, optimizing your sales processes. And in HubSpot, we know this. And that's why we decided to really, really prioritize work on lead scoring this year. It actually started last year. We did a ton of planning. It was Andres's team first that started planning. Then my team came on board, and literally first week of January, we were building a new solution, and I'm happy to demo it today. But before that happens, a quick overview of some of you might be thinking, okay, but we have a lead scoring solution in HubSpot right now. How is the new solution different? So in terms of the current scoring solution, it's a scoring property. It's pretty buried in settings. See, I'm doing it already, the before and the after, but it is true that it is buried in settings. You have this limited space, this kind of slide out that, a lot of customers were telling us, if you have a good few roles, you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling till you find the right role. The filter logic is quite limited. For example, you can't score any type of website visit or any type of email open. You have to keep adding the latest email that you sent to your scoring rules to make sure that it's up to date. Then you have like limited event types, no way to reduce score value over time, etc., etc. With the new scoring, it's an app. It's a dedicated app. So you're able to easily create and manage scores. It has improved UX, this whole screen view, which means that you can like really see the rules and how they're interplaying with each other. And I'm going to be diving into that in a second. A way more advanced filter logic, meaning that you can like really tweak those scores to make them work for you and your company. You can create separate fit and engagement scores. I'll be talking about that a little bit as well, because I'm personally pretty excited about this aspect. And then we added unified events, custom events, and a lot more. So it's in private beta right now. You can join the beta by going into product updates in your HubSpot portal. We're getting a lot of requests, so bear with us. We're going through these requests every day, adding more portals and making sure that nothing bad happens and the thing is working. So yeah. So with that, let's do a demo. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, I think, and I'm going to reshare my screen with the right tab. Yes, so you will find the new scoring under marketing, lead scoring here. And as you can see, it's a dedicated app, which means you can really see all your scores. You can manage them really, really well. You can see which scores are on or off. what type of score it is, engagement or fit. You can see which property it's writing into, created, updated, and so on. So really easy to manage your scores in case you need to create more scores. And we're hoping that with this new solution, marketers will be, keen to create loads of scores. So let's see how that looks. So if I click create score, as I mentioned, there's this view of like engagement and fit. Before I start talking about the differences, it's contact-based scores for now. And yes, we're working on company-based scores. This week we started working on that. So, a lot of work has been done before, and we're kind of really finishing that work nearly. So, so company-based scores will be added soon. But yeah, in terms of the engagement and fit, basically the difference here is that it gives you like two different lenses to look at your leads, basically. So you get your engagement score, which means you get to understand what they do. Are they interacting with your marketing content? Are they interested? And by proxy, are they interested in your product? And so, is it time to pass them on to sales? But this other score, the contact fit score, is super helpful as well. And we haven't heard from a lot of marketers creating it. And we really, really want to encourage everybody to try it out, because this is another lens that you can use to understand your leads. So let's say you have this lead and they're really engaged, they're opening their marketing emails, they're visiting your pages, but then you might not know until your, say, BDR team calls that person that they're, a supplier, or for example, they're in a different region and you might not be able to sell to them. So using something like a contact fit score, where you can use their demographics, information about their size of their company, region, their level of seniority, etc., is a really helpful way to understand, okay, they might be engaged, but are they a good fit as well for my company? But for the purpose of today, I'm going to create an engagement score. This kind of obviously explains very briefly how to use it and what's going to happen next once you create a score. So when I click create, as you can see, you get this very big working space there that you can use to create your scores, which we were really kind of committed to doing, because the slide out is just too little space. So when I click add rule, first thing you see is that there's like these scoring groups and a max amount of points. So let me talk about that a little bit. So the max amount of points that we've decided to apply, and obviously we're open to feedback, but it kind of made sense to apply a max points, and the max points in this case is 100, meaning that your lead cannot get past 100 points. Could have been 1,000 or something like that, but we went with 100 just to kind of like standardize all scores across, if you're going to be creating more scores than one. And then these groups basically allow you to divide that 100 between preferably journey stages, so that you can like really structure your score really well, and at a great detail, control which stage gives your lead the amount of points that you want. So using an example, let's say this is going to be an awareness stage, and with this awareness stage, I'm going to add interaction. Any add interaction whatsoever is going to give them maybe 2 points. And for this awareness stage, I don't want to give them too many points, maybe just max 20. And then let's say I'm going to add another event, which is going to be pages visited, and then any pages visited is going to give them 1 point. So again, this is like early on in their journey, meaning, you don't want to give them too many points here. But the exciting thing is that you can like do any page event, any add interaction. So what happens here is that every time, and this is what this does, is every time they interact with an ad, they get 2 points. And every time they visit a page, they get 1 point, and it all adds up to 20 points. And then once they reach 20 points, they will not be getting any more points from this group. Obviously, you can create your rules as one big group, but in case you want this more kind of granular view of your rules, you can use those groups as well. So let's keep going. Let's say the next one will be consideration. I don't know why I keep doing that. Let's add an event. Let's say CTA clicks are going to be important in this one. And let's for consideration, we're going to give them 40 points. And then I can filter CTA is equal to any of, and then you get to choose loads of CTAs. And then this is an interesting thing, right? Because you can like just add 5 points for any of these CTAs, or you can click this thing called score individually. This is a bug, early private beta, so just bear with me. But you see these CTAs, you will see the CTA names very, very soon. And then you can decide, okay, this is a really important CTA, so they will get 2 points here, and then they get, 1 point for each of these CTAs. And again, if you have like loads of CTAs, maybe you don't want to score them every time they click on a CTA. Maybe you want to limit points from CTAs to up to 10. This means that if they click on 5 of these, they get the 10 points. And then if they keep clicking, they will not be getting any more points. And this all will add to this 40 points cap on this specific group. And then finally, let's say we have a intent group, and then in intent, let's say it could be something like they booked a meeting with someone to get a demo, you know, and then you could say any meeting gives them 10 points, you know. Another kind of interesting thing here is this decay scores toggle, which basically means that you can reduce the amount of scores by a specific percentage over time. This is particularly important for engagement scores, so things they do. It doesn't change, you know, like who they are and what company they work for doesn't change that often, but what they do changes. So, you know, the fact that they interacted with a bunch of ads 4 months ago doesn't mean they're really engaged now. So you can decide to reduce that score by a percentage every 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and then after the elapsed time, they won't be having 20 points from this group, they'll have 10. So their score will decrease over time if they don't keep engaging with your content. And as you can see, you can like set different decay values for every stage. Maybe intent is so important for you that you don't want to decay that part of the score. Meeting booked is meeting booked. They were really interested, so you want to keep those scores. But it's up to you, because we wanted to add really a lot of flexibility here in this editor. So one more thing probably to add, and I'm pretty sure there's questions about it in the chat. Where is negative scores? So in terms of negative scores, there isn't negative scores for now, at least. We've decided to remove negative scores, and I'll show you how to kind of achieve something similar in the app. But before I do, I just want to like give a little bit of just explanation why there's no negative score. So we kind of listened to a bunch of use cases while chatting to customers, and it kind of seemed like a lot of negative scores are used to basically exclude bad fit, or, you know, like people that you just don't want to score in the first place. So, you know, in turn, like employees or competitors or suppliers or something like that. So you are able to exclude scores in here through contact lists. So you can add up to 5 contact lists, and it means they will not be scored in this score. And kind of our kind of thinking about it is, you know, it's better because you don't inadvertently start scoring negatively someone that is a valid lead. Maybe they did something that would get them minus 10 points, and then they end up with like a minus amount of points. And despite the fact that they're like an engaged lead and a good fit, they are at minus 20 and they can't recoup from that. Meanwhile, if you just do exclusions, you just exclude certain contacts from scoring altogether, they don't get scored, and everybody else just gets scored in through positive scores. Again, it's private beta, so we're kind of really interested to hear about your use cases where, you know, negative scores might be helpful apart from exclusions. But yeah, that's kind of no exclusions for now is the story. And then finally, you can like edit the property that you're writing into. I created so many of them that I have to add loads of numbers here. And then once I click review and turn on, this is just a recap of what's going to happen. And then once I click turn on, yeah, this score is working and it's on and it's scoring my contacts. This is my property, HUG event engage 1, 2, 3. So if I go to contacts, and I want to add a column here from the property. Here we go, HUG event, and I'm going to move it here. And as you can see, there's scores being added, and then you can add multiple of these properties here. So let's say this will be your engagement score. This will be your fit score. You will be able to see, okay, good engagement, good fit, move on to sales. And, meanwhile, if they're kind of like in between, maybe don't do that. So just a really good like overview in this contact list. Routing to sales is through lists for now, but we are thinking about like a dedicated solution down the line for sure. So in terms of what's coming, let me stop sharing and reshare my presentation very quickly. Just a couple of like more slides, just bear with me, and then we'll dive into questions at half. So in terms of things that are coming next, one thing is AI assisted fit scoring. So we know fit scores are maybe the types of scores that our customers are maybe a little bit less experienced with. That's why we created this AI assisted fit scoring. And it basically combines the power of AI, the power of your CRM data with your human intuition. So basically the way it works is, you pick the stages between, say, lead to SQL, and AI analyzes your data and says, okay, this is the properties you should include in your score, and this is the score you should give them. But there's the human knowledge and intuition, because you can then review that score and say, oh, that property doesn't make sense. I'm going to remove it and I'm going to add this property. So it's kind of like a nice kind of combination of both to kind of help you create these fit scores. And it should be in private beta definitely by inbound. We're nearly finished with it. So very, very soon it will be added to lead scoring. And next one is score insights. I think Andres and myself are particularly excited about that one because, scores are just as good as someone using them and someone trusting them. So, there will be insights for every contact. Let's say a salesperson got this lead, they can click into the score and see, okay, their score went up and down, and then it started going up in the past couple of months, meaning their engagement is growing. This is the things that impacted their engagement. And suddenly it's a completely different situation to score 80 and I don't know why and I don't trust it. So it's really, really powerful, I feel, to help increase the transparency, increase the trust of sales team in this process, and also give them like a good bit of insight. Okay, I can see you read that blog post about XYZ. Let's talk about it. So this is going to be great, and it's going to be, it's going to be in private beta by inbound. Score insights overall. This one, we're not like completely sure what we will be including here. We're still figuring out, but basically this will help you to see, okay, how are your scores trending overall over time. So you created this score today, HUG event 1, 2, 3. How is it trending for all your contacts that are scored over time? Is it more or less constant, or is it increasing, decreasing, and so on? Maybe something like a distribution preview for a score. We're not too sure. So if you have suggestions, please share them today. Again, company scores, I mentioned that we're working on those, and also mixed fit and engagement. So, you know, you might want to have a separate engagement score, a separate fit score, and it kind of gives you this kind of more granular view. Okay, they're really engaged, but maybe they're not great fit. Or you might want to choose to create a combined score for both, and we will be working on that very soon as well. And then finally, thresholds. This one, Andres is really excited about. He keeps asking me about when are we adding thresholds, and I can totally see why, because I think, you know, score again is as good as people understanding it, using it, and this gives this extra, you know, level of understanding and insight. You can set these thresholds. These are for a different type of score called the health score, but let's say 81 to 100 means hot lead. You might want to assign a red color to it, say hot lead, and suddenly you get like this other level of understanding of your scores, especially for your sales team that is kind of like just consuming your score. That will be really, really helpful. Private beta by TBC, I should hope inbound, but we don't know yet, but very, very soon anyway. And yeah, that's it. I believe there's loads of questions. So
yeah. People are going bananas in the chat. I don't know if you could see it while you were presenting, but mostly just everybody wants you to skip the beta phase and just ship it into the product today if possible. So there's one piece of feedback for you. Everybody, we have a good amount of time for questions. I see 75 questions in Q&A. We'll get through as many as we can. I don't think we'll get through them all, but happy to share them with Dom and Andres after this. If you could all head over to the Q&A tab, look through the questions, upvote the ones you want to hear. We will work through them, most popular, least popular. While you're all working on that, Dom, I do have a question. I would love to hear more about the fit scoring as it currently exists. What sorts of things can you? We saw questions around account-based scoring. I know you said company scoring is coming, but can you like score the fit of a contact based on company properties, or what's that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. You can use company properties in your fit scoring for a contact. So you might create something like their job title is this. You know, if it's very senior, you want to give them 20 points. If it's like intern, you give them no points. And then sorry, interns. No, we love you. Then company size, company revenue, technology, and so on. Yeah, really, really encouraging everybody to try it out. It's pretty powerful to add this additional level of understanding of who your leads are. I don't know, Andres, if you have anything to add here about fit scoring.
No, for fit scoring, the only one that I think you mentioned, like custom object associations are coming soon as well, probably by next week. But yeah, no, it's definitely looking at who the right individual is across those contact properties that exist in companies and soon custom objects.
Okay, amazing. All right.
Hold on, in case this doesn't get over to the Q&A, can the vice versa be true? Can a contact score drive a company score?
I think what I've seen in the Q&A, which is I think what you're saying is that be able to score custom objects. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. John, you can.
Or on the company score, can you also look at associate like things that are happening at the contact level or other associated records when company scoring exists?
I'm not sure I'm getting it, but what will be available is contact fit scores. You can look at the contact property, you can look at companies properties and custom object properties, all those associations. At the company score in the future, once that's enabled, you would also be able to look at contacts in the for companies based on that, as well as system objects. And then if the question is more objects than scoring contacts and companies, I think that will be evaluated in the future. Likely what would be next is custom objects, but I can imagine that taking just a little bit of time to enable inside of fit scoring.
Sure. All right. Yeah, that's perfect. I think you answered it very clearly. Thank you for that. So I'm now in the Q&A. The most popular question by a fair margin is this one from Cynthia. How can we add a score for an offline activity? Example, if they attended trade shows.
It really depends how you track that inside of HubSpot today. You can imagine the scoring platform being an aggregation of your unified HubSpot data. So depending on how you track those offline sources, whether it's through a property inside the contact property, or whether it's a unified event, a custom event, what I would recommend is creating a custom event that tracks specifically if someone attended or not a trade show. That way you track it as an actual event and you can even decay it. So yeah, that would be my recommendation, to look at custom events and see if you can start managing your offline events inside custom events in HubSpot.
Cool. Next most popular question is from Frank, asking about if we can see a score change history over time. I suspect this was asked before you showed those slides, Dom, but yes, this is coming. Yeah. Not today, but soon.
Very soon.
Danny asks, will you be able to easily report on which of the many criteria contributed to leads? Let's say you have 10 scoring criteria and want to understand which of those 10 create the best quality leads with highest conversion. Oops.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. So definitely we're thinking about that for like the specific contact history side of things. So let's say, you look into contact ABC, and at the moment we're building a version where you can see all the events, but we want to kind of like down the line also give you like a highlight of like these top events contributed to this person's score. I suspect this is kind of generally on the score level as well. So something like, I created this score and it's trending this way, and this is the top events that contributed to it. And I think it's a really interesting idea, and again we're gathering inspiration from the kind of like the overall overall score history and insight. So this could be like an interesting one to think about for sure.
Yeah, I would say in the shortest term, what's coming is the ability to test the record. So if you do have a hot lead that you're like, I wonder what this specific person, which criteria they met that led them to become a hot lead, you'll be able to click test record and that individual contact and see which rules they met. So I think in the short term, you'll be able to do it at the individual lead. In the long term, like Dom said, I think that's really where a performance or insights page comes in to help you understand, am I building the right rules and which ones are actually creating leads for me?
Amazing. On testing leads, is that a thing you could do before the score is turned on, like as you're building it?
Yep,
cool.
Similar to lists.
That was a thing I saw come up in the chat. I'm happy we got to it. Emma asks, I use negative scores to reduce scores for unsubscribes. If negative scores are no longer available, how would you suggest these are handled? I wouldn't want to exclude them altogether.
Yeah, definitely. It's a use case that we considered. I think there's probably like a couple of ways to go around it, and I'll let Andres kind of add to this as well. But I think one way is, once you have the combined engagement and fit scores, maybe you want to like add a score for like hasn't unsubscribed, gives you additional points, meaning that if they have unsubscribed, that kind of leaves them with less scores, less kind of points than they would have. I think ultimately it's about kind of understanding which of your leads are really worth pursuing. Obviously, you don't want to pursue someone that has unsubscribed from your marketing communications and they're not opening emails, they're not doing anything, but that, theoretically speaking, should be reflected in your score. They won't be getting any high scores if they aren't engaging or getting any emails or anything like that. I don't know, Andres, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I think the big change here is really going from a world of someone that does something negatively reduces their score versus I just shouldn't even pass that person to sales, right? If someone's unsubscribed, do you really want your salesperson to reach out to them if they saw your page 100 times and suddenly they're MQL'd? And the answer is likely no, right? You kind of start losing that trust by passing the wrong lead. So with exclusion lists, it gives you the ability to say, okay, anyone that's unsubscribed, let's just not score them this round. Let's only score those people that we're actually showing as potential leads, and maybe manage those unsubscribed with a separate campaign. How do I re-engage with them in a different way? So yeah, those exclusion lists is really is really kind of the solution to negative scoring. The other effect that negative scoring tends to have is that people end up in the death negative spiral. So they did a bunch of negative actions like their student, or they come from a different role that you expect. They can never recover from such negative decisions to become a lead. So negative lead scoring has a ton of negative impacts that sometimes you don't even know is happening, which is why exclusions are really important inside of scoring now.
So it's interesting hearing you talk about exclusions this way, and I especially like the idea of a re-engagement campaign for someone who is unsubscribed. Is there a way you could create, so we saw the exclusion list, is there a way you could create a score that only applies to people who have unsubscribed? With some of the filtering criteria, could you say you have to be unsubscribed?
You would say let's only score unsubscribed people and see where they range inside of them. Cool. And I'm seeing, definitely the comment on like, what about negative criteria, like lower fit persona? I would just think about the scale that you're scoring on, right? So if you're saying let's score fit based on, I see like lower fit persona, I would just say, okay, here's persona A, persona B, persona C. Give persona A 5 points, persona B 2 points, and persona C 1 point, as opposed to reducing their score. Just manage that inside of your scale so that people go up. If they're still, a lower fit persona, they're still a fit persona. So you want them to move a little bit up. Sure. Just don't move them up as much as the other ones.
Yeah. Great. On the question about like creating a specific score for unsubscribes, this is kind of like new territory for all of us, but we're hoping, instead of just this one score that you have for everything, you might feel tempted to create like multiple scores for different products, different verticals, different things that you want to understand better. And so, yeah, why not create a score for unsubscribes and target them with a campaign for sure?
Yeah. That's great. All right, this next question, Andres, you already answered asynchronously, but I think it's worth reading out to everyone. Alan asked, when will we be able to reset a lead score attribute to 0? And Andres said, you can now reset an engagement score as part of the private beta by using any workflow enrollment criteria you would like. So I don't know if there's more you want to add to that, but I think
that's probably the biggest ask that we've had in the previous lead scoring. So I'm not surprised it came out quickly. But yes, inside of workflow, whether you want to say, hey, we work in HubSpot, so anyone with @hubspot.com reset their score to 0, so that way sales never sees them, or a specific contact, hey, @Dom, let's reset their score to 0. You can do that inside of a workflow, and it'll automatically change their score to 0. You can think about it as lifecycle stages too, or lead stages. So if someone goes to a lost deal, automatically reset their scores to 0. In the future, likely we'll try to bring that inside of scoring more, so you don't have to kind of go from scoring to workflows and try to manage that. But for now, if you go to any workflow, contact-based workflow, you'll see in the CRM actions the ability to reset engagement score, and then you'll select engagement score you built, and then put whatever enrollment criteria you want, and it will automatically reset those scores.
Amazing. So that's a new workflow action for this beta. Very cool. Lance asks, can you use a combination? What if they are a good fit and have a high level of engagement? Can you score on the combo? So that, Dom, you sort of teased at the end there, I think.
Yeah, that's coming very soon. And yeah, definitely a good question. And you might want to do both because why not? You'll have loads of scores.
Ooh, Courtney's taking us into technical territory here. The current HubSpot score property can be included in HubSpot Salesforce field mappings. How will this new scoring integrate with Salesforce?
I'm guessing because it's just a property, there's really no difference at the end of the day what the score is. It's just a property. So you can sync it just like any other property would. So it should, quote unquote, just work. But if it doesn't, definitely reach out to us and we'll be happy to explore that further.
That makes sense. And I did want to ask about that. Dom, as you were doing the flow at the end, you give it a name, you set the property information and stuff. I assume that then if you go over to your property settings, it's visible there, it's listed there. You won't edit it there anymore. You'll go back over to the app to edit it, but it's still a property just like any other. Casey asks, is scoring retroactive or does the scoring only begin for activities after you turn it on?
It only begins, I think it only begins for activities after you turn it on, or is there, I think there's maybe like a buffer?
No, it is retroactive. So as soon as you, in the knowledge base, I'll include how far back we look. It depends on the event, but I think it's at least 2 years. I'll have to confirm that, but it should be retroactive in terms of if you create an engagement score or a fit score, it'll look back at the events or the properties that meet that criteria and score those contacts accordingly. So everyone won't start at 0 points. They'll start at how many points they should start based on the criteria you've set. You might notice that it takes maybe like a minute or two for those CRM properties to update from 0 to maybe 13 or 21. But yeah, it's basically that calculation happening.
Makes sense. In Dom's demo, she went over to the index page and we saw values. So that's very exciting. Another question, Andres, you already answered in writing, but I'm going to read out to everyone. Lindsay asked, because this is totally new and different, are we able to join the private beta and let it run alongside existing lead scoring? And Andre said, that's correct. The existing lead and scoring property is not going anywhere. That's not to say that in a few years we could decide to sunset that property in favor of the new scoring app. But for now, you can keep them both.
I stick by my answer.
Yep, that's fine. I love it. Danny says, will it be possible to have scoring on a custom object rather than on the contact? The answer to that is we will likely move towards company scoring before evaluating custom object scoring at this point. Next week, you will be able to score contacts based on attributes of associated custom objects. So that's exciting. Now we're getting to questions that haven't been answered.
Right.
Valeria asked, to score email clicks, do you still have to add one by one, or is there a way to score clicks, all emails included in a specific workflow?
Yeah, so all engagement scores, any event that you saw there from email to page views to forms to custom events, if you just select that specific event, like a form pop-up, you'll be able to incrementally score that, including email events. So you can say any email, give them +1, any email open +1, or you can specify which specific email. So yeah, that is definitely one of the big differences.
Cool. Allison asked, what will happen to the HubSpot score property with this beta? We just answered that. It'll still be there. Kim asked, currently you have a limit of 25 scoring properties. Will this amount be increased? This is another one that was answered asynchronously. For enterprise accounts in private beta, the limit is now 35. As we learn more of how customers use the score builder, we could change these limits. Delaney asks, will there be a feature where we can have the lead score reset? For example, if sales is talking to a lead and they mark them as not ready. So that's that workflow action again, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But we are thinking about maybe, you know, adding it in the score builder itself. TBC.
Cool. Casey asks, are you able to use events from integrations, examples, webinar software?
Yeah, again, if you use custom events, you can reference them in your scoring.
Do you? So I know with like the Zoom integration, Zoom webinar integration, for example, inside of workflows, you get all kinds of like, if someone attended or if they registered or whatever, can those sorts of things be pulled into the lead score? Or would you need to like put them in a property or an event somewhere first?
Yeah, and the integration events aren't unified events yet, so they wouldn't automatically pop up. The current workaround for those, one of the criteria inside of engagement score is workflow enrollment. So the workaround right now that I would recommend is creating a workflow that says anyone that went to a integration event, so a Zoom event or whatever integration you have, enroll it in this workflow. And then inside of scoring, you can say, hey, anyone that went through this workflow, give them 20 points. And why that works well is because you still get decay, right? So depending on the time that they went through that workflow, you'll still be able to reduce their score over time. So workflows will be probably a good workaround for a lot of potential cases people have.
Can you have a workflow that doesn't have any actions in it, or do you have to add like a random?
You could just do enroll anyone that meets this criteria, like integration, and add them to static list or something. And
sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Victoria asks, will we still be able to have a unified score based on fit and engagement? Sounds like yes, that's coming. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Karina asks, I had scores with both fit and engagement. Will the combo be available? Same question. So yes, same answer.
Good to know. It's really important.
Yeah, people care about this. Alan asks, how will this new lead score work with the new HubSpot lead object? In other words, is it only for scoring contacts, or can you also use it to score leads on that contact?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. We have been exploring this area this year, and we really want to make sure that scoring works with lead management, generally speaking. So there's kind of more stuff coming. We don't have the details yet, but generally speaking, lead object kind of inherits certain kind of criteria from the contact object, and a score will be one of those. But hopefully we can do more in this area and kind of enable you to use scoring to better kind of manage your leads.
Yeah. Something that would be kind of fun that I assume is possible today is you could have leads created when a certain score is hit, right? Because it's just a property and you can create leads through a workflow. So you could just say, when you hit this threshold, create a lead, and off the sales team goes. Tobias asks, will negative scores work? We've talked about that quite a bit. No negative scores currently, but open feedback. Elizabeth says, will scores eventually be available in or for deals?
At the moment, deals are out of scope for this kind of iteration. Let's say we've decided to focus on marketers and their needs. But again, we're open to feedback. So yeah, would love to hear more about that one.
One call out there too is just a couple months ago, Sales Hub came out with predictive deal scoring, which you don't set up or configure in any way. They just give you the information and some of the same stuff we saw here, how it's changed over time, what factors are affecting it. I'm sure that team would love to hear your feedback on if you want a more hands-on approach to defining those scores for yourself, or if those numbers are working for you. But there is something there today. It's just different from what we've been talking about here. Silvana asks, can we use external page views, WordPress, for example, as criteria?
Not as part of the native property. It would have to be as part of a custom event, just the way that those custom events work.
Cool. But yeah, I think that's kind of like a canonical classic use case of custom events. So you put your tracking code on your WordPress page and off you go. It'll be fine. Lucas asks, I know HubSpot dislikes going back lifecycle stages, but will this allow HubSpot score resets to potentially move contacts back from an MQL to a lead, for example?
Yeah, that's a really good one. And again, we're kind of looking at this area a bit more holistically, like how you manage leads in HubSpot at the moment, and like scoring is a part of it. So yeah, definitely taking it on as feedback that we should really look at it. Leads don't go just one way. As we know, they can go back to just being a lead. So yeah, we definitely want to take a look at it soon.
Cool. Heather asks, approximately how long until this will be available across the board? I know it's in beta, but anxious to get started.
Yeah, great to hear that. We got some people really excited. We're hoping to kind of get it rolled out pretty quickly, unless, something bad happens, fingers crossed, but we don't think so. So yeah, I think before inbound, you should be able to access the kind of first iteration of it.
Cool. Tori asks, will you show how the new score interacts with workflows, reporting, etc.? Thanks. I think the answer there is it interacts the same way as any other property, and then sounds like some more bespoke reporting is being researched. Is that accurate? Okay. Danny asks, also, will it be possible to score based on business units? We have 20 business units and each one has its own score property. So I want email A to score against score property A, etc. Or would the solution to this be to use CTAs for scoring rather than email click? This is another one Andres answered. I can imagine us iterating toward a world where you can create scores based on business units specifically, but for now, I would recommend creating a list for each business unit, and then inside the setting of who to score, include each business unit there. That way you're only scoring contacts that are part of that business unit. Makes sense to me. Anything to add about business units, either of you?
Yeah, sorry, I guess I said include, but given those lists are exclusion lists, you would say who, you would exclude all of their units from it. But yeah, I think until business units are more native into scoring, that would be the workaround that I would use for now, instead of trying to figure out which specific asset belongs to what business unit. Great.
How long does it take to be approved to join the private beta of lead scoring? Given the fact that roughly, 150 or 200 people during the course of this hour have applied to join it.
Yeah, I think if you apply today, I think next week is kind of like the target date, more or less. We're kind of ungating maybe like 50 a day or something like that. So yeah. And we have a big queue of people, so do apply today, and you'll get it next week.
Great. All right. I'm going to summarize several of these just to say people have lots of questions about how this will work with Salesforce, which is just something to consider. But we only have 4 minutes left, so we won't go into the nitty-gritty details. Someone asked specifically about the Salesforce widget. Someone asked what sort of visibility there is for the sales reps inside of Salesforce. So just Lots of questions about this. Ooh, great stuff. Will this new lead scoring editor be a separate part of the user permission setting? So can you control who has access to it?
So if you ask to be ungated, the super admin, which is you all, get access, and then you can ungate more team members to view or edit or both.
Great. Okay, most of these I think are, oh, this is one we haven't talked about. How do the different scores interact with each other? So you showed you can create a whole bunch of these different score properties. Are they just then different columns in your index page? Is that?
Yeah, so you can use them together. Let's say creating a workflow, you can use like both and reference both in a workflow. You can create a list based on both, or very, very soon you'll be able to create one score that gives you just this one value that combines everything. You know, there's probably pros and cons for both. You know, if you use one score, you know, you get a one number, which is easy to understand, but you might not get the kind of insight into, is it fit or intent that, you know, contributed to it? Engagement. And then if you create both, you can like see it at a more granular level. And there are two independent properties that you can like reference in lists or workflows, etc.
Great. I think that's probably all we have all we have time for. I will export these out and share them with both of you. So if you want, you and your team want to dig through them, you can see what sorts of questions are coming in. Thank you all so much for your participation here. I'm going to ask the last question. I'm just curious, what happens when you turn one of these scores off? Are the properties still there? The value still there? What does turning it off do?
Oh, tricky question towards the end. Yeah, the property's still there and the value was written, but it doesn't get like reevaluated in case you kind of had a contact that did more CTA clicks or email opens. They'll stay at the score that they got.
Cool. Well,
yeah, it's definitely, you know, a lot of what we heard is people want to kind of experiment before they just turn it on and start writing to a property and sales starts getting leads. So before you turn it on, it gives you that ability to just kind of make sure you have the right scoring rules. And then when you turn it on, it starts writing to the property. If you're like, oh gosh, I want to make changes, but I don't want to change it and it impact all the scores, you can turn that off first and then make the changes before turning it back on and applying.
Oh, interesting. Kind of use it like a pause button.
Exactly.
Great. Love that. Well, we are at time. Thank you both so much for being here. Thank you all in the audience for participating and for all your many wonderful questions. Really love the interactivity of this. Dom and Andres, if people want to get in contact with you, do you do LinkedIn? What's your preferred method for people to reach out?
Email for me. I'll share my email address here.
Yeah, I'll share my LinkedIn and email. I'm always interacting with Kyle's posts, so hopefully you can be there.
Amazing. Well, thank you both so much. That is the end of our show. Thank you all for being here for another Admin Hug, and we'll be back again next week. I will pause just like 30 seconds in case people want to grab those email addresses out of the chat, and then I will shut it down. But thanks everyone for being here. Have a great week.